Hello. Hope y'all are doing great. Before we get this going, I mean, Jaden, I think you got something to show us here.
I do. Pull it up.
Start this
One
up.
second.
Start this up. But hope you are all doing great. Jaden, me and Jaden are doing phenomenal so far. But first, we have a little presentation from our
Shout out our
friends.
boys at the Notre Dame Primetime Live
Yes.
show. Does it play? Oh, here it is.
Unmute.
Number 10, certainly is going to be Miami or Notre Dame. So, number 10.
No! Miami. Are you shitting me?
Saturday, Notre Dame had been ranked ahead of them.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Certainly is going to be Miami or Notre Dame.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry for the foul language, people. But it is a great day to be a Miami Hurricane. I'm Shay here with Jaden on Miami Primetime Live. Jaden, how are you feeling?
This is up there as one of the best weekends I think I've ever had in my life. Unbelievable weekend. Between the fighting and arguing over the last 3 days with Notre Dame fans, all the stuff that was said on Friday, on Saturday, and finally at 12:30 on Sunday, seeing that orange flash, I've never been happier in my life. Because that entire morning, I was like, we're not getting in. I had full belief, full understanding, we're not getting in. And seeing the Miami come up, oh my gosh, I probably woke up all my neighbors in my apartment. It was unbelievable, Shay.
And I think that's well-deserved because that flash of a moment, the second the orange comes on screen and the Miami U flashes onto that screen was phenomenal. Like the entire weekend, it was like, oh, will we not? Won't we make the playoff? And just to see that finally come on the screen right there was a sigh of relief and a lot of excitement. And yeah, the Hurricanes are in the playoff deservedly. But my question, I'm gonna just toss it to this. Jaden, did you like how the committee went about this?
Absolutely not. No, not if I will say this, if you are a Notre Dame fan, you have 100% all the reason in the world to be upset. You went 10-2. You turned a corner as a defensive unit. Your run game was awesome. You have the best running back in the country. Shout out Falconer for 199. As always, Notre Dame has a reason to be upset for the fact that for weeks upon weeks upon weeks, they were ranked number 10. They were between 10 and 11, 9, 10, and 11 for 4 weeks in a row. 4 weeks in a row and Miami was at 18, and for 4 wins against Stanford, Syracuse, Pitt, and Virginia Tech, they moved up 8 spots, which, look, I think is more of the fact that the committee realizing that Miami at 18 was an objectively crazy spot, and Notre Dame at 10 was an objectively crazy spot. So they kept denying Notre Dame at 10, and they kept moving up Miami at 18. It should have just been Miami at some point, Miami should have just been at 10 and Notre Dame should have been at 11 and avoids the entire controversy, because everyone in their right mind looks at Miami being above Notre Dame and says, yeah, that makes sense. The head-to-head mattered. Sure. But when for 4 consecutive weeks, Miami was behind Notre Dame, and of course on Sunday, on Selection Sunday, that's when you make the change. Absolutely crazy. So that's where I think they did it wrong. And then the other aspect, I mean, I don't understand the way that they're doing, why Alabama didn't get knocked for that loss. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's 2 different ways you go about it. And Falconer, I think we're all in agreement. Taking your ball and going home is such a weak move to go and do. I saw a clip from I think he was talking with Dave Portnoy about it. They talked to the captains of the team as a group, and they all kind of came together with that decision. So it's not like it's just from the top down but at a certain point, the best way to put this, kind of going around it, is that there are seniors on that team who aren't going to play another game. Yeah, there's seniors, whether it's on playing football, cheerleaders, faculty, facility managers, yada yada. Pick somebody, but there are so many seniors on that team who are now never going to play another football game again because your team decided, yeah, we're not in the playoff. We're not going to play a single game again. We're not going to play another game, and it's such, in my opinion, it's such a weak move to go and do that. And I know it's like, oh, it's a power play to be like, yeah, ESPN, you guys won't get money off of us. Who cares? Honestly, I know Notre Dame is a big brand and everything, but at the same time, I think it is such a weak move to not go and play that football game. You know, for
I agree.
one last showing. Because if you guys think you are that legit and should have been in the playoff, go ahead and prove it. Think about like I know it's a completely different situation, but think not completely different. Think about when he had that game against Georgia and FSU when those two teams got quote unquote snubbed in that bowl game, and FSU sits all their players out, but Georgia goes in and dominates, and then they have something to go off in the season. Say, yeah, that committee, that's why you messed up, and we should have been in the playoff. You don't get to say that anymore. You can't. You could be like, I don't love how this happened, and Jaden, I'm in agreement with you. The way the committee went about it was a little weird, and I think if they were going to move Miami in, they should have done it before conference championship play, because simply what it looks like, and I'm a believer Miami should have been in over Notre Dame, and if you're gonna move conference championship losers who look awful in that game down, you got to move down Bama as well. Bama got dominated. They played a bad last month of football, and they're going to get in because they have this one win that, if they're going to tax us in the middle of the season, the Miami, for not playing well and not looking our best. What does Bama look like the last month of the season? Not great. Whereas Miami, they had their rough stretch in the middle of the year, completely agree, but then they had to prove themselves down the stretch to make sure that they could get back into the race. But not moving down both conference championship losers for getting blown out in those games, I think was a little rough by the committee. And not having Miami over Notre Dame going into conference championship weekend, there was no new data point added. And so there was nothing to move Miami off of. And if you thought Miami was the better team and you were going to factor in head-to-head, you should have done it the week before.
Agreed. Yeah, I think when then you look at Bama specifically, Bama's got the best win, which is Georgia, but they have the best loss, which is Florida State. And the committee will say, Hunter Yurachek will say on Sunday, and he said that we went and watched back Notre Dame, and Miami was a much better team at that, than Notre Dame, which was true, and the head-to-head matters, and absolutely. But why did they not mention anything about the fact that Alabama did lose to FSU? Objectively, a bad team, a 5-7 team. Alabama, you're 100% right. Their last 4 games have been extremely sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina won by 7. LSU won by 11. Oklahoma lost at home. Eastern Illinois is a cupcake game. Then you have Auburn, who they almost lost. They almost lost to Auburn. And then they got pumped by Georgia. Absolutely destroyed, dismantled. Me and you, Shay, had more rushing yards than Alabama did.
Yeah, exactly.
Objectively,
everybody here, unless your name is, I think, who's the running back? Kevin Riley. I don't know. Somehow he's somehow in the chat. Yeah. You watching had more rushing yards than any Alabama player.
Yeah, it was ridiculous the way that they went about it. If Ohio State drops by a spot, if BYU drops by a spot, okay, then Alabama's got to drop. Alabama's got to. I don't understand where it comes from, that if you're going to drop BYU for losing to a very good team, you're going to drop Alabama. If you're going to drop Ohio State for losing to a very good team, how do you not drop Alabama at any point? 0 spots from Alabama, 0. And I had a feeling that they were going to do that. Like last week when we were talking about it, I thought that they moved them at 9 so that there was no way they'd get out. But they looked so bad that they should have at least dropped 1 spot or dropped.
Yeah, because I think the way the way I think they're doing that is that if they would have dropped Bama, they couldn't have moved Miami in, because it's like, oh, why is Miami?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
but at the same time, like now Miami has to go play a decidedly tougher game and is on a much harder path, because Bama, a team that got blown out and destroyed, they could not move down. Miami's gonna have to now, Miami's gonna have to go to A&M, go play Ohio State in the first 2 rounds. When all offense to Oklahoma at this point, I don't think Oklahoma's a great defense, not a great football team. And Oklahoma's been boosted by this Alabama game, it's this Bama game has boosted Oklahoma to the point where like they're 8, and should they really be there? Probably not. But also you can't have Bama above them when they beat Bama so recently. So and you can't drop Bama out because Bama doesn't have 3 losses. and not as Oklahoma.
Bama
You can't drop.
Yeah,
Sorry, Oklahoma. You can't drop Oklahoma out because they don't have 3 losses. They don't have 3 more losses than Bama, and you can't move Oklahoma out without dropping Bama out as well. So that like the other side of the bracket it really changes how this bracket goes for Miami as a result of that, because they decided they weren't going to drop Bama, and that this whole process was once again I agree.
I thought we should have been 9. I thought we should have been 9 against Oklahoma, and I think it should have been us at 9, Notre Dame at 10. I thought that's what it made the most sense for. It was the path of least resistance. The only thing it would have done, probably would have gotten rid of conference championships, and conference championships are already at this point on the brink of extinction at the moment within the power conferences.
I mean, because if they go and expand the playoff again, they're gone. Realistically, the conference championships.
If anything, it's probably going to turn into like some play-in. It's going to turn into a play, like the way that Vanderbilt wanted that game, like Puerto Rico,
the Hawaii game,
yeah, like it would turn into something like that. So I think it's. I thought the way they just went about it was wrong. They lacked consistency for a lot of different reasons and a lot of different things. It just didn't make sense in the way that they handled it all. If you are Notre Dame, you have a legitimate gripe, in my opinion. But we're not the gripe. The committees. If you were, all right, where would you put if you're Notre Dame, who do you have the most hate for? Because them hate going all the way against the ACC to me is a little crazy.
Yeah, I don't think. But I think the main issue, if you're a Notre Dame fan, to have a problem with is Bama and dropping Bama, because not dropping Bama, because if BYU got punished for looking awful in a conference championship game, then Bama should have also gotten punished for looking awful in a conference championship game. Now I know BYU is the concerns with Bear Bachmeier and his health. That I think that's a little bit of a concern with the injury to the QB. And I know that's also impacted things.
I think
I know. I think they just think BYU doesn't have quality wins. Bama at least has, they have a solid win with Utah, but Bama has a few wins that are better than that. So I get it. But Bama, if they have punished teams, they punished us in the middle of the season for not playing well down the stretch. Bama lost 2 of their last 4. Looked awful in their final game of the season. Played close with a bad Auburn team, and so overall, that is, if you are going to punish teams for not having good stretches of football, then Bama should have been punished for playing a very poor stretch of football down the stretch. And so if I'm Notre Dame, and if they were going to punish conference championship losers like they did with BYU, then they should have punished Bama as well, because not only did Bama get blown out in their conference championship, they have not played good football down the stretch at all. So I think if there's anybody you're gonna have a problem with, because it was a funny thing where Notre Dame's Miami fans realized at the end of the season, it's like, why are we fighting each other? Bama should not be here.
Yeah, it's totally the SEC. And I saw someone say that the reason why Alabama was going to get in is because imagine having 4 other SEC teams in and having the SEC runner-up not be one of those teams. Sure, whatever, I get it. There shouldn't be that many SEC teams in anyway. It was crazy the amount of SEC teams and the way that they tried doing it all. And I don't know. For Notre Dame, I think the SEC should be absolutely at the highest of their disliking, which technically falls around the ESPN and the CFP committee. I understand your hatred and your blame for ESPN. I'm still confused by their hatred for the ACC. They keep the AD Bavakwa. He keeps going at the ACC and he's saying that their ties are severed and this and almost to a point where he's threatening to leave that ACC deal that they have, which I'm still trying to figure out where that comes into play. Why? What did other than the ACC network broadcasting Miami Notre Dame games because they're supposed to favor, I don't know, the conference. Miami's a part of the conference. Notre Dame's not in football, objectively. I don't get it. That part makes no sense to me.
I don't get it, because I get it from Notre Dame if you want to be bad at ESPN. And once again, I don't agree with them dropping out of the bowl game, but at the same time, it would be broadcasted by ESPN. And you don't want to give them money, which I thought was BS of an idea. But I thought once again, I think the whole Notre Dame dropping out of a conference, out of a bowl game is just ridiculous and is such a weak move. But but yeah, if you want to funnel your frustrations at ESPN, like I get that being the concern. But yeah, and once again, I think we're all in agreement with this. The SEC, there should not be 5 SEC teams currently in this playoff right now. And I get it. Bama has a great win with Georgia, but they also have once again
the worst
was Oklahoma is once again what we've said it a million times. I don't think anybody thinks Oklahoma should be the 8th seed in the college football playoff right now.
I think Indiana's got an easy path to the semis right now.
Yes.
It's cake right now for them. Like it's crazy. And then you're right with the Miami stuff. That their path being A&M and Ohio State is significantly harder than Oklahoma and Indiana. Personally, when we got in, I was just happy that we got in.
Yeah. I mean, 100%.
Back at it now, us being at 10 and playing, a very good A&M team, a very quality A&M team. Who it's kind of funny because it's us against the team that also beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame.
Yeah, it is the Notre Dame. It is the Notre Dame Bowl.
Yeah, and then with the Bama Oklahoma, it's a rematch. It's in Oklahoma. Last time was in Bama. Whoever wins this game is going to show some severe flaws, I believe, because I think Oklahoma's defense is legit. Ty Simpson does not look great.
Simpson, that's
great overall. That one to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's where I do feel for Notre Dame fans is the SEC and Notre Dame argument. Yeah.
But what I will say is that once again, this all could have been solved if Notre Dame was in a conference.
Because put them in the American and they make it.
Yeah, exactly. I get the money isn't the same and everything like that, but I think Notre Dame could have won the ACC given Miami wasn't there. They could have beat Virginia, and I think they could have won pretty much any conference, maybe not the SEC and Big Ten necessarily, but they could have gone in and won pretty much any conference if they had decided we're going to be a part of that conference. Obviously, the TV money, not something right there, but that's the problem. The whole thing is that we're going to reward winning your conference, and though a 7-5 team like Duke might not make it, if you're 10-2 Notre Dame, if you're 11-1, if you're 11-1 JMU or 10 is Tulane 10-2 or 11-1?
Tulane is 10-2, I think,
or 10-2 Tulane, and if you're one of those group of 5 teams that went and won your conference, I know people shouldn't say they shouldn't be there, but you want to reward teams for going out and winning their conference as much as you want to as much as possible realistically, because I know they're probably gonna get blown out and everything like that, but there should be some benefit of playing in a conference, and one of those things is that you get an automatic bid if you go and win your conference. And if Notre Dame was in the ACC, the American, the MAC, whatever, yada yada, and they had still booked those 2 games against Miami and A&M and still lost those, but they played that great down the stretch 10-win team and won those 10 straight games. Then they would have been in going off and winning a conference. So they screwed themselves, and we're not going to see that change until 2029 when their NBC media deal runs up, even if it even does. But the problem is that they did not have one. If they went out and won a conference and put one more data point on the board, which was the big thing, is okay, if you showed yourself one more time, guaranteed yourself a playoff spot by going out and winning one of these conferences, then you would have been in. But the problem is you don't do that. They played the worst team in the ACC, the Big Ten, and the SEC. So, wow, you got 3 big-time wins over these awful teams that you stacked up throughout the year. And you're not guaranteed a playoff spot because you go and win those games instead of playing similar, a few 8-win teams sprinkled in there in your conference, decent teams in the middle of it. They played some decent teams, I will say, but that's the point. You didn't go out, without being in a conference and going out and winning a conference championship game, they screwed themselves.
Yeah, but I mean, I see the point with the G5. I understand the G5 argument. Oh, there shouldn't be an automatic bid for the G5. I disagree personally. I think the G5, without the G5, you're eliminating half of the entirety of college football. And it's important to have that kind of representation, despite I understand the fact that Tulane is not on the level of Oregon, or that JMU is not on the level. JMU's not on the level of Oregon, and Tulane's not on the level of Ole Miss. I understand that. Sure. In other years, the G5 is going to look stronger this year was a down year overall in the G5. Like Tulane and JMU were objectively the two best teams in North Texas. It wasn't a great G5 year, but limiting the G5 as itself takes away from what makes the sport great. What makes the sport great is, it's the entirety of the FBS. If you make it just Power 4, it kind of takes away from what makes the sport great. And if you're Notre Dame, I'm sure the American would love you. I'm sure you could join the American, and they'd probably let you keep your NBC contract. I don't understand. Like, join a conference, and this is significantly easier. I could see you also blaming the ACC for their dumb tiebreaker rules, which I've been saying. Their tiebreaker rules are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Having it be the 5th tiebreaker because of a 5-way tie and because Virginia lost to NC State, but that was a non-conference game. It's all dumb, and the ACC really did screw themselves. Like, the whole committee thing messed up because if Miami won the ACC, we're not talking about JMU. They get in, and then in the other side, we can have Notre Dame will get in as a large spot, and then that takes away from the entire thing. Didn't happen that way, and Notre Dame screws themselves over because they don't play in a conference. That's the biggest argument for why you should be in a conference is what we saw on Sunday. And
exactly.
Falconer, I agree, but in basketball, it's a 64-team format, and I don't know, about 20 plus teams are G5s or G6s that make that tournament. Between the mountain, there's like 5 or 6.
I thought he was thinking of like we were talking about the
NIT,
like the NIT. We're like the next. I mean, I could be wrong. You could clarify, Falconer, but I thought he was talking about like when we were talking last week about that NIT idea where the next group, like the next 12, 13 teams, they go play their own playoff at like the next group of.
Well, bowl games we're seeing it right now. The bowl games are just totally.
Yeah, I mean, you could still play the bowl games as you do, but
that's the issue that no one cares for the bowl games anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's done. With Notre Dame opting out, you have Iowa State who opted out. Kansas State opted out. Florida State rejected it because they would have gotten it at 5 and 7, and they kind of like didn't do it. So I don't know. Yeah, look, I understand that Miami would have made the playoffs without winning the ACC. The committee kind of got screwed over in their own logic and thinking because they were like, well, if Miami wins the ACC, Notre Dame can get in as that large spot, and we don't have to worry about head-to-head. But because Miami didn't win the conference, you have to add a different conference champion, which was JMU, and then you add Miami, and then you get rid of, you drop Notre Dame, and that's where Notre Dame's argument comes in. And then Falconer, the NIT makes sense. I don't know. I would personally like to see the G5 get some representation. Truthfully.
Well, yeah, you could still. What I'm saying is you could still include the G5, but the NIT concept we were talking about was like, teams that miss out, they go play their own tournament like this.
I do agree with that. Yeah. I don't know. I saw people say that they might move bowls to the beginning of the season instead of the end of the season to avoid opt-outs.
I can see that.
I don't know.
Being bowl eligible feels like such for more middle of the pack teams, when you hit that bowl eligible, like it feels like, it feels bigger when you're like a developing program to go and hit that bowl, make the bowl. And go and win it. So like I feel like it's like a mark that teams look for. So it'd be weird to just call a team bowl eligible before the season and then go play it.
Yeah. I don't know. For a team like Vandy, I get like for them it means everything to them. But for Notre Dame, they think they're
they think they're above. They think they're above.
They're above standards. They're above these things. Maybe back like 100+ years ago, sure. When Newt Rockne and you had the headless, the horseman of Notre Dame, and you had Rudy, all those guys. Sure, you're on the same level as all of us. You're the entitlement that Notre Dame has, where you have people saying, all Notre Dame needs to do is opt out of the ACC all entirely, and the conference is crumbling.
Yeah, as if like. It's not like Notre Dame basketball is their women's team solid, but like it's not like Notre Dame basketball is like holding up the conference. The conference
is Notre Dame baseball the reason why the ACC is a great
like
maybe your Olympic sports. You don't even play. You're not even in our lacrosse league. You play in the Big Ten in lacrosse. So the whole reasoning and the arguing is just dumb. And the way that they've attacked Jim Phillips in the ACC because we're lobbying for a conference team over an independent team it's baffling. I think that's just it's just not the team that you should be attacking. You should be attacking ESPN and the SEC bias and that, and that kind of stuff. And also, Yeah, I mean, like, objectively, outside of their first 2 games, they had a pretty fair schedule, like a pretty easy schedule. If that was in conference play, think about it. If Notre Dame was in the ACC and say Miami was it was a conference game, they had a different game, and USC was their non-conference. That's they go 1-1 non-conference. They make the playoffs. They win the ACC. It's like, I don't know. I think their whole argument is kind of flawed, and it stems from them not being in a conference.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the end all be all of where we're heading, where this conversation is going. Like we said, the MAC would love to have Notre Dame, and if Notre Dame wanted to beat up on MAC teams and go 10-2, and they had scheduled Miami and A&M out of conference, and they lost those ones, but they still won the MAC, then they would have been in. Got it. There we go. But they're not. They're not in a conference, and I get it, the TV money and whatever. But that's why they didn't make it. At the end of the day, you didn't make it. And once again, the ACC has, in terms of football, has no loyalty to Notre Dame in terms of promoting them as a team over Miami. You could, like, the ACC even promoted Duke at 5 losses to go and make the playoff.
Yeah.
Like, was Duke going to go make the playoff over any of these teams? And should they have? No, but their job as a conference is to go and promote the teams and fight for the teams that are in their conference.
Notre Dame is not in their conference. Not in the conference.
You can go and complain about, we weren't represented by the ACC, and like they're putting another team over us. But at the end of the day, that doesn't. Great, what loyalty should the ACC as a conference have to Notre Dame to go and support them making the playoff? And I agree with them in the terms of, if that Bama, they were going to punish conference championship losers, Miami and Notre Dame should have gotten in. I'm up for that, but Notre Dame had no right to be in over Miami based off of this season.
The resumes were similar, common opponents were similar, and Miami had to beat them by a higher margin. All the metrics were very similar, neck and neck.
Exactly. Everything was neck and neck, lined up, aside for the fact that we saw these two teams play, and Miami went out and won that game. And at the end of the day, as Cristobal was saying it week after week, as he said after we dominated Pitt in the final week of the season, that's what the final decider should be. If two teams have the same record, similar resumes, are lined up point to point, then head to head should be the ultimate decider. It shouldn't be the only thing, obviously, because like I would get it if Miami were a 3 or 4 loss team and we were like.
But when resumes are similar, when they're comparable,
when resumes are comparable, like Miami and Notre Dame's resumes are, then the head to head is what gets you the leg up. And like, if Notre Dame wants to be mad at anybody, it should be the SEC and them, and Greg Sankey Greg Sankey, the SEC, and Hunter Yurchek. Like, go be mad at them. But the ACC did its job by promoting Miami to get in every step of the way.
It's dumb to attack them. This is flat out dumb to attack Miami. Like, it's whatever. But I don't know. They didn't. What do you mean? They just joined a conference? Did they? I don't think that is true. I am seeing rumors that they're going to leave the ACC for non-conference or for non-football sports, but I don't think they're going to leave.
And also, sorry, I just thought about this, and because I was Googling that. Well, great. They can't complain next year because, if the playoff is the 14 teams, then as long as Notre Dame's 13 or higher, they're guaranteed a spot. Like, like, in my opinion, just appealing to a team. I don't know.
It's crazy. That one's crazy. Again, it just feels like Notre Dame as a whole feels like they are more entitled and more above the rest of college football. And that they believe that no matter where they are, like, they're holier than thou in everything. But you on the field, you lost to Miami, lost to A&M, and then you didn't, like, the way that they've gone about it has just been so, I guess, cocky and like, we're Notre Dame, we absolutely deserve to be in. That's your belief, and sure, but let's not act like every other team is not, the same. Like, we beat you on the field, and you're gonna be like, nah, that shouldn't matter. Just shouldn't matter. Like,
No.
what? Huh?
Don't consider it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Act like you are Notre Dame. Act like you are what you say you are as an institution. You just haven't they just haven't acted like that.
No.
So
And once they took their ball, went home, and are gonna go cry about not making it.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody has something to cry about, it's BYU. BYU
believe that
has 2 losses to the 4th ranked team in college football, and they got dropped. And like Notre Dame, get him out of the ACC for and it once again, I think we're in agreement over this. Like, if Notre Dame should have made the playoffs over Bama, but there's I don't think there's a case for them over there's not really a case for them over Miami, given the resumes, how they stack up. But I think we're all in agreement of this. SEC bias is clear by the committee, and the way they went about this playoff bracket, I honestly think Notre Dame and Miami are better than the Alabama and Oklahoma as they stand. And so, they should have been in over those two teams as well. And so if they were going to punish conference championship losers like they did with BYU, they should have done it with Bama. And once again, I think there's a clear SEC bias because I don't think with either way those two teams have played down the stretch of the season. And Oklahoma, they played fine enough, but I mean, they had the one close game against Mizzou that was in there.
Yeah, they have the wins. They
have the wins. Once again, they beat. I get it. They beat Bama. But their offense hasn't played very well. Only beat LSU by 4, and LSU had to choke that game on defense away. They only scored 17 against Mizzou. I don't think Oklahoma's offense is an offense that deserves to be in the college football playoff, but we'll see if Mateer and them can bounce back. Point is, the SEC bias is clear, and I get Bama. I get if Notre Dame wants to be upset at Bama being in over them, given the situation. But Miami being over them should have. I get them being mad at when it happened, but it should have happened.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing what Pete Bavacqua said this morning. He said that our problem is with the process. We were absolutely led to believe this entire CFP ranking that we were in. So I agree with that. And I actually think one of the things that was talked about is they probably should get rid of the Tuesday show. Got to get rid of the Tuesday show. So because if we said it, if for that many weeks you're going to have Notre Dame over Miami, and then on Sunday you finally make the change, then why even do the Tuesday show? That's kind of where because if Miami was over Notre Dame, or if we didn't do a show and was just what we think would be, the committee wouldn't have this argument of the Notre Dame Miami thing, because everyone would just assume that Miami's above them. But because they did the ranking show, they kind of led on a little more for Notre Dame. Notre Dame had been in the playoffs for about 5-6 weeks.
Exactly.
And they lost. They won every single game. So it's like, I get the process of it and the inconsistent messaging and everything that the committee kind of did over that last stretch of the season for where it ended up. But the final decision in terms of Miami being over Notre Dame, we're in agreement on. In terms of Texas Tech, I get it. BYU got blown out both times, and they hadn't played a phenomenal schedule. So I'm not the most against. I'm not the most against it, obviously, because Bama has better wins than BYU. But still, if you were going to punish conference championship losers, then both of them should have been out. Which is why if you go 11-2 in conference play, I feel like that's a pretty decent team. Like,
they beat Utah, which is solid enough. Like, BYU had a case. I mean, I don't think BYU was the most deserving, but obviously they had a solid enough case. They beat a 10-2 Utah team, and I get they got blown out both times by Texas Tech, and they probably wouldn't have been this big threat to go and knock out, fight for the college football championship. But once again, if they were in before and then they were out after losing that game, they could have just the AP poll.
I forgot what the AP poll looked like.
Yeah, I forgot to.
I have this on here somewhere, I swear. I believe Miami was at 10 in the AP poll.
Miami was at 10 in the final AP poll.
Yeah, it was Miami 10, Alabama 11, BYU 12. Oh, and they had Notre Dame 9. So then the discussion would have been, who would you rather, Alabama or no? It would have been Notre Dame and Miami with Alabama and BYU out, which is probably what I would have done. That's actually what I thought it was going to be Miami at 9, Notre Dame at 10.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it should have been. I thought it doesn't make a lot of sense, but hey, we're in. Let's be happy that we're in.
I agree. It is great to be a Cane right now. Yeah. So I mean, everything said, the way I think we could just talk about how Miami finished the stretch of the season, just because we've talked to death the CFP conversation. But in terms of how they built their resume up, those last 4 games, it wasn't the most consistent. Obviously, I wasn't a big fan of how they played against Syracuse in that first half of that. Stanford was the bigger one.
Stanford was really bad.
Stanford first half.
Middle 4 games of Louisville, Stanford, Syracuse, and SMU, where they went 2-2 and they looked really bad in those 2 wins.
Yes. But the way Miami finished it out, where this defense has played phenomenal all year. This defense, I think, is clearly one of the best in college football. They've had guys missing, yet everybody in the secondary continues to step up. They're gonna get guys back in healthy. I saw something about Keontae Scott potentially coming back.
It's a maybe, but I saw that David Blay will, which is huge.
Yeah, David Blay will be coming back.
I saw OJ
Frederick get Keontae Scott back, a healthy OJ Frederick by then. And that secondary and this defense as a whole is just going to be even tougher of a matchup for anybody, let alone Texas A&M. I know that one offensive lineman doesn't know who Ruben Bain is, but they'll watch the film. They'll watch.
Not be saying that, regardless.
You really shouldn't. But and I get the sack numbers aren't there with Ruben Bain, but we've talked about it enough. You watch him play, and I know pressures aren't sacks, but they're an important stat.
ACC Defensive Player of the Year, by the way. Yeah.
You know what? I think we do have to mention this.
We do owe a helicopter.
Now that we are in the playoff,
does anyone know?
We're seeing how we can potentially get there. Oh yeah, sorry. Wait,
are there helicopters in Kyle Field? That is a real question.
That is a great question.
I don't think there's a helipad.
That seems like maybe there's not, but that seems like a Texas thing to do. Like
they should try their absolute hardest. They should try their hardest to get people on the helicopter at Kyle Field for that game. I'm pretty sure they're only allowing like 3,000 tickets or something for Miami fans in a stadium that holds 100,000. The atmosphere and the crowd is going to be ridiculous. I just booked my trip to the College Station. I am going officially.
I was debating on it. But I'm just gonna hope behind the scenes I get something figured out with that, because it's just. Falcon are actually doing. Oh god, my hair looks awful about there. Falcon are doing some big time research over here.
Yeah,
6 alumni.
Yeah, but with Keontae Scott, if Keontae Scott would be back for the semis, it'd be massive.
Would be huge. I know he's not an outside corner, but just anything to kind of stop that receiving room. With Ohio State. What they always say, marry that pass rush and coverage to get after Julian Sand. I know he's played pretty solidly this season, but at the end of the day, he is a freshman. And we got to see if he can handle it. It's going to be on neutral site game. I forget where that second round is being played at.
I believe Dallas for the Cotton Bowl. If I were to
gotcha. Okay.
I will say overall, in terms of like the big picture for Miami, 4 years ago today, they hired Mario Cristobal.
Yes.
And for 4 years later, to be announced in the playoffs and to be in this position, back-to-back years of 10-2, first time back-to-back 10-2 season in over 20 years. You have a head coach who is beloved by this city. You have someone that is a top recruiter, just got a top 10 recruiting class. He's building a team that has been the number 1 team in Florida for back-to-back years. Everything that we've wanted from Mario Cristobal, he has done. He is bringing Miami back to national relevance. He has done a fantastic job over the last 4 years. It absolutely feels this 10-2 team feels significantly better than 10-2.
So much better than last year's team.
I love Cam Ward, and I thank Cam Ward because Cam Ward probably got us to this position this year with getting guys like Beck and keeping a guy like Malachi Toney and getting some of these portal guys. I believe that Ward played a huge role in that. And that helped us get to the spot of where we are now at a different 10-2 that was just a top 10 defense, and a very fun offense built around Tony. Just such an incredible job by Mario and company to with the NIL and with the way that college football's changed, you've adapted and you've become one of those premier teams. And, obviously we want to continue to see them building year in, year out. But this is what we wanted. We said this back in August. We said 10-2, make the playoffs. Where are we? We're 10-2,
making the playoffs. And we, this the way when we went into the season, I think a lot of people went into the season a lot of skepticism in terms of where would this offense be without Cam Ward? Would the defense would Corey Heatherman flip the defense around? Would all the transfer that we brought in on the defensive side of the football work out? And simply the way they have constructed this roster from top to bottom, between youth and the bounty of youth in the skill position room on offense, a rock solid offensive line, defense completely revamped, yet you have core staples of it between Akeem Mesidor, roommate on the edge, and once again, and then back-to-back state champs. You beat Notre Dame
against your rivals.
You beat all you won against all your rivals in back-to-back years.
Virginia Tech. It's like, I think it was as good of a season as you can probably get, other than the 2 losses. Like they did what they needed to do. Obviously, if you were to say one more thing, getting into the ACC championship, even though they probably should have been in there, would have been nice. But I am pleased with the way that overall, now looking at it, the way that the season went. Back in August, we said if we can split, remember Notre Dame and Florida, we won both of them. And we said, can we lose one in conference game? We lost 2, but they battled, they fought. They didn't, normal Mario Cristobal teams in November are going to roll down and die.
And that Pitt game was a game that Miami has lost far too often. And to go on the road and beat a Pitt team that was playing its best football of the year and go in and beat them was crucial, because if that doesn't happen, nothing else matters. And to go in and beat that Pitt team in dominant fashion was just a different side, was a different team than we've seen. And yes, there was the letdown in the middle of the season still, and that still needs to be addressed kind of moving forward, because you do want to go and win this conference sooner, eventually. And then at the end of the day, you piss off your rivals even more by getting in above them to the point where they rage quit. They rage quit the season. And so the way this, after 4 years now being in the CFP, Pitt was ranked 20. Pitt was ranked 22. They weren't an easy team. They just beat Georgia Tech. You go in and finish the season off with beating a ranked opponent at their place, with the season on the line, and you did it in dominant fashion, and that's the reason why you're in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
And so all the props to where this team has improved, even in just the last 4 weeks of the season, to make sure that they are a playoff team. And I think we're both of the agreement that they can go and beat anybody. Like, I don't think there's a single team that Miami is maybe Ohio State, just because they are the defending national champions. And they went and proved that they can go and beat anybody. And I think they are going to. I don't know how far the Miami's going to get. We can probably talk about that too. But this team has a shot against anybody.
I agree. I think A&M is a quality team. I know they're, when you look at A&M as a team, they haven't had much of tough opponents. Obviously Notre Dame, and then it was Texas, and they lost to Texas. Every other game ended up being, I guess, bad teams. But yeah, so in years past, especially Mario Cristobal teams, the question was, if you lose in November, Mario Cristobal can't win in November and December. It was I think the stat was 4-11 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
SMU, and everyone said they're going to roll over and die. They're 100% going to lose another game. The season is over. I came after SMU with you and said the season is over. Yeah. And they went 4-1 in November. They played their best brand of football. The only loss being SMU on November 1st, and they turned it up. I thought that they were going to kind of lie down. I thought they were going to, another Mario Cristobal team doing this. And they did something that other Miami teams have not done, which was, find a way to win. And they did eventually win. And I think that's incredible. I think it's just a way to be looking at it. It's that's awesome. So I'm very grateful there. And I think it only leads to what we can do in the near future as a program. But in terms of Notre Dame or A&M, I'm curious of how I don't know. I haven't obviously watched any of Notre Dame this year.
A&M.
It's hard. Yeah, sorry, A&M. Other than their loss to Texas and their win against Notre Dame, but they haven't played statistically elite level teams.
No, I think that's kind of the big concern, and why losing to Texas dropped them so far was just because you don't beat anybody too crazy throughout the year, and then you play that poorly against a Texas team that was they rallied towards the end of the season, but they weren't a great team. I think they weren't a great team, and you think about that, Sanford is whatever. But their last two real games of the season, you're down 30 to South Carolina, and then you lose it, and then you lose them pretty dominantly to Texas. So not a phenomenal way to kind of end your season. They also played a pretty close game against Arkansas during the year too. Just a few weeks before.
They were close against Auburn. They were close against Florida for a good chunk of that game. They haven't been overly impressive. I think Marcel Reed's really good. I think they're ridiculously talented.
Yeah.
Obviously I don't know necessarily of like how it is, but like their stadium, crazy atmosphere. It's going to be a huge advantage for them. They're a very quality team, but this is a game we legitimately have. Obviously, I think we can beat anyone. This is one of those I think we absolutely can win this game outright, like by we can win this game by more than a touchdown, like kind of game.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, I know it's crazy to say that for a team that was number 2 for pretty much most of the season with Texas A&M, but just what the talent on this Miami team can do when it all comes together, and it has these last few weeks, and they could be getting even healthier, is a testament to where we think this team can go. Just these last 4 weeks and how they've improved so much, and now that you're in the dance, you can go in and beat anybody.
Yeah, and as everyone in the comments keeps mentioning, if we get Ohio State, I'm sure all of you guys have been wanting for years to finally get that revenge from 2003. I know too many people that have wanted that revenge for that game, for the awful. What I think it's objectively the worst call in college football history. The pass interference play. I legitimately think it is. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have said it. And yeah, like Ohio State kind of played. They played odd. They played very odd against Indiana. They looked like they just, I don't know. They reminded me of the way they played against Michigan last year, like where they just like forgot how to play football for a little bit. And it made no sense. 2002, my apologies. I was -3. But I've grown up, being around this fan base now. I've heard the talks about this game. I've watched footage of this game. I've seen the play. It's obviously objectively bad, and I'm sure back in 2002 people were demanding and absolutely wanting that, everything from that. But getting a revenge on Ohio State, who I think they looked a little more mortal, I would say, than normal. I would say after Michigan, when they beat Michigan, I was like, they're elite, they're electric. Losing to Indiana was like, maybe they're a little mortal.
Yeah, and I think you can. These teams haven't played since I was looking it up, since 2011. Miami did win that game, and it is huge in terms of the history between these two teams. And once again, like they are earlier in the season, even just 2 weeks ago, you would have said that's probably the tip of where you would expect Miami to be able to go in and beat. And seeing them in the second round would have been very scary, and seemed like a near impossibility. But just how they played against Indiana, and I know Indiana is a really good team, but it was like, oh, this team's very, very much mortal, and it is possible. I know they have 2 great receivers with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, but they're beatable. They are very much beatable, and I know the Miami fans, like you can see, look at this. There is a lot of pain in what happened during 2002, to go for what happened and costing, and not I guess, not officially, but ending what was a college football dynasty with those early 2000s teams, off of a blown call. I would like to pull it up, but I don't want to put people through that trauma right now.
Yeah,
I want put people through that trauma.
Rather not. Terry Porter actually got inducted into the Referee Hall of Fame after after like 58 years of being a ref, which is kind of crazy because that call was But yeah, of course.
The first thing is you have to go and beat Texas A&M.
Go beat A&M. It's
and I think once again, I mean, we got to go and look at it just a little bit more, dive a little more into A&M themselves. But I think Miami has dealt pretty well with these mobile QBs, with their 2 edge guys. Get into the quarterback that way, and if you can if I think it comes down to this defensive front, as always with Miami. They set the tone. They've set the tone all year with this team, and if they can get home and they can get pressure on your QB, and if they're willing to go sit back and drop back and hold onto the ball for long, and not go that way and be like, and think that their guys can go block our guys is simply what is the question for their game plan. Do they think their guys can go block our front 4? And if they want to go that route and try and test it, be my guest. But I don't think that's the way you go and beat Miami. If they want to get the ball out fast, then these guys, the secondary, the linebackers, and how they shown the ability to go and counter the quick game, as we've seen the last few weeks, and even I know the Louisville game was like the big one where we were all like, oh my gosh, what is going on here in terms of the tackling. But since that game where they missed all those tackles, they've been a lot more solid, covering the run, the quick game, those type of things. And I think if Texas A&M wants to go and say our 5 can go block your 4, then be my guest. But I don't think that's the way that they go beat Miami. And I think Miami can. I think that front 4 can start, finish, put an exclamation point on that game.
Definitely, I would say with Marcel Reed, at least, because he's a very explosive dual threat, finding your way to limit him as much of a runner, limit him as a runner, make him a complete passer, and at the end of the day, put spies on him, whatever you can. I do expect them to go that quick passing route where you expect Bain and Mesidor to attack, rush the quarterback very quickly and get there as fast as possible. I think they're going to try to do everything they can to follow maybe that Louisville strategy, but like they're a quality team. It's a game in a very hostile environment. 100,000 fans in a legitimate one of, I would say, of the home games, this is probably number 1, maybe number 2 in terms of crowd environment between that one and Oregon. So you're entering a very, very, very hostile crowd, and Miami's just gotta have to. Thankfully, you have a quarterback like Carson Beck, who I'm hoping has been to College Station before when he was with Georgia. And if he has the fact that he has kind of experience being in that kind of hostile SEC crowd.
I could be wrong, but I don't think they.
But I would say more of the fact that
he's played in big games he's played in big games on the road in the SEC in these loud environments. But let me go. I just want to double check on that. Since becoming a starter, he at Auburn, not an easy place to play. At Georgia Tech isn't the easy.
Having a guy that can't be totally rattled in a hostile crowd and a hostile environment because he's seen it before, that's kind of a really big plus that we'll have. The fact that he won't get rattled going into that kind of environment because who he is as a quarterback, the fact that he's been been around the league for college football for so long that he has that experience and that veteran presence. They have veterans everywhere. This Miami team does, and they have that mix with the freshmen, with the way that Tony's been playing, the way that Pringle's been playing. Having Josh Moore and Dalen Upshaw, and then on the defensive side using Bryce Fitzgerald as the nickel guy, having veterans mixed around, having guys a couple. I don't even know how many guys truly have playoff experience, but kind of having some guys that understand what this kind of environment is.
Big games. You have guys who have been around, played in big games before, and you have experience, a good mix of youth, of youthful ignorance, and then experience to kind of bring you through those moments. And the test this Miami team has been in terms of keeping strong even in the tough moments has, especially down this, like we were talking about down the stretch when we thought this team was going to fall apart, has been impressive. Once again, it's going to be a exactly. Saying stuff like that.
I'm excited to watch Bain play on that.
I'm excited to go watch him play. I think he's going to be motivated. He's been phenomenal this season. Once the sack numbers, maybe not there, but I'm excited to see if they go and just say, go block him one-on-one. If they're like, well, we're fine with Bain going one-on-one with our left tackle. We'll see if that works out. If it does. I don't think that once again, I'll say it again. Don't think that's the route to go and beat Miami. Saying their front five could block our front four, but we will see if that's the case. I think they'll probably go more the quick game, try and run the ball at them in those smaller fronts than anything else.
They got guys, and I will say, like, if you want to look at any positives specifically from the fact that Mario against really good teams over the last few years, he's looked really good. He's objectively been very, very, very good against really good teams. One of his losses is A&M when they were in College Station to open the season a few years back.
They won that one. You mean
they went to A&M and
different year. Okay,
gotcha. The year after.
Okay, I thought you were talking about
they beat them. So like they went 1-1 in that home and home series.
Mm-hmm.
They did lose that game in College Station. They won the year after, and a really good game the year after. Mario's proven that he can beat really, really good opponents, especially ones that may be more talented according to certain like stats or whatever. But the fact that Miami itself plays higher against higher quality opponents than they do against lower quality opponents. Objectively true. So I imagine we're going to get the best out of all these guys. And with Carson Beck, he's playing his best football of his career, in my opinion. So you have that. You have a team that is over the last 4 weeks playing with the hottest team in college football, and you have a Notre Dame, an A&M team that is sort of limping, I would say, into the playoff.
Yeah,
but they're still very good, and they're still a team that's favored, obviously, a team that has the home field advantage and is going to be, in my opinion, one of the best games of the entire weekend.
Mm-hmm. Should be one of the best games of the weekend, because you're going to have all those the small games, the blowouts that are probably going to happen with the group of 5 teams potentially. So yeah, it probably should. I'm trying to think. The 8-9 Bama Oklahoma, I think is just going to be more of a sloppy back and forth type of thing than like we're excited to go watch these two teams play. Then the other 2 games, they're just going to be
G5s.
They're group of 5.
Some sort of
if they are any bit of a game, then those are the best games of the weekend. But if not, then that's probably what we expect. Yeah, so we will see how that kind of all goes down in 2 weeks.
Yeah, next Saturday.
I will agree. I don't love the noon start time.
You're telling me.
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. It's 11 a.m. in Texas. Instead of let's that game should be a night. Realistically, that game should have been a
Friday night game. How is it not the Friday night game?
Yeah.
I think their reasoning is they don't want to compete with the NFL, and the NFL's got those Saturday night games. So they're like, what if we put the G5 games at the same time as the Saturday NFL games, and then you put the really good games Friday night, Saturday afternoon instead? So I don't know. We should have. I wish we were the Friday night game personally.
Yeah. Who's the Friday night game?
Oklahoma, Alabama.
And then
we're the Saturday at noon, and then the G5 games are after us, which I think they did on purpose so they could, again, not compete with the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like fine, I guess if you want to put Bama, Oklahoma, it's a rematch, yada yada. But
SEC gonna get numbers.
SEC, I get it, but realistically, just with how those 2 teams have played, and I get Texas A&M lost their last game of the season, whatever. The game should have been Bama Miami, not Bama Miami, but
Oklahoma and Miami would be awesome. Would have been a really awesome game. In Norman, good crowd.
I mean it should have been A&M Miami at primetime Friday night game.
Oh yeah, I agree. I do agree. I'm excited though. It still doesn't really feel weird that we're gonna be in the playoff and that they're gonna be talking about us extensively. Like this is. I'm ecstatic. The fact that in our college years we get to see a playoff team feels damn good. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's never guaranteed. So the way this team came together in those last 4 weeks to get themselves a spot was quite impressive, and it'll be exciting to see how they play. We both said it. This team can go and beat anybody, and they're gonna have to. I think they could definitely go and beat A&M,
absolutely
in a little bit. But yeah. Anything else you want to touch on?
I don't think so. No, I think we hit. All
right, play the clip one more time, and we'll be on our merry way.
Find this clip again. One second.
Well, I think it's in the private chat.
Oh yeah. I'm pulling it up right now.
All right, perfect.
I'm finding it again. These poor again. Shout out our guys. well, I guess our guys, the Voice of College Football Notre Dame guys, who they had me on the show on their show before. Thank you, Falconer. We're thankfully wrapping up right now.
Yes, I have finished my last 2 papers.
My last final is tomorrow morning, thankfully. We play
Certainly going to be
one more time before we hit the road.
Number 10.
No! Are you shitting me?
It's one of the funniest clips I've seen in a while.
By far. And with that being said, have a good day, everybody. We'll see you next Monday.
Catch you guys. See you.